Are there any other superheroes that you'd love to bring to the big screen?
I think Spider-Man could do with a bit of help. I think there's some fun stuff that could happen with Spider-Man. Always wanted to make a Superman film, and my Superman movie would be incredibly different to the Superman film that's out there. But
How so?
I'd do the more colourful Dick Donner. It's Superman. He's wearing his underwear outside his pants. You know what I mean. So I'd do more the Superman that I grew up on and loved.
Well, no, that sort of got all blown out of proportion. I mean, I had a very brief chat with them, and that's all it was.
Okay.
So, and it's sort of, from a 30-second chat on this huge thing. So,
Did you guys ever
no.
spitball who the ideal Superman? Like, were you going to go with an unknown? Were you thinking about an actor in particular? Like, what was your direction that you wanted to go in?
Hadn't gone that far. We just had an idea for a story for Superman. That was all.
What do you think about the fact that Goyer and Chris Nolan, I guess, is godfathering, so to speak, this new Superman film?
Well, I think they're both talented, so it's in good hands. I just hope they don't make it too serious. I think that's the one thing not to do with Superman is try and do the serious Dark Knight version. You have to. Superman is about color and fun. It should be.
Yeah.
For me.
Was that because the last Superman, the Bryan Singer's version, had a? Do you think it took itself a little too seriously, or was it? What was the?
Yeah, it was just a mess. I mean, it had no idea what it was, and was it a remake? Was it a prequel or a sequel or what? I mean, what was it? Was I genuinely, and I actually think Bryan Singer's done some fabulous movies, but I just felt that was just a mess. No other way of describing it.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So after doing a video about Man of Steel earlier today, he's in preliminary talks right now to direct the Man of Steel sequel. I couldn't not make a video when I found out that he'd already talked about making a Superman film a long time ago. Now the first clip was from Kingsman, so that was more recent, but as you can tell from the second clip, that was from earlier, from like 2008, so they were still ramping up to make the David Goyer, Zack Snyder Superman film. So one, I love the idea of him doing a more lighthearted Superman story, one that's not super crazy intense. The way he sort of talks about not doing it super serious is funny because that's kind of the way that Man of Steel turned out. It was very real world, it ended up being a very serious movie. He does kind of trash Superman Returns a little bit, but back during this time, like before they'd already announced that David Goyer, Zack Snyder were going to be doing Man of Steel, and they were taking pitches, there was a Matthew Vaughn, Mark Millar, that's right, the comic book creator, Mark Millar, Superman movie pitch. And since then, Mark Millar has explained what that pitch was. Now, it's pretty crazy, so clearly if Matthew Vaughn ends up directing the next Man of Steel movie, it'll be a very different story than from what they pitched way back in 2008, 2009. But here's what that pitch is, and this is directly out of Mark Millar's mouth. This is the way he talks about the project. So he says his version of Superman is going to be like the Michael Corleone in the Godfather films. The entire story from beginning to end, you see where he starts, how he becomes who he becomes, and where that takes him. The Dark Knight showed you that you can take a comic book property and make a serious film, and I think that the studios are ready to listen to bigger ideas now. The problem with Superman Returns was like releasing Star Wars in '77, The Empire Strikes Back in '80, and then waiting 28 years to release Return of the Jedi. It wasn't relevant. I understand what Bryan Singer was trying to do, to pay homage to Richard Donner's original version, but I think you should pay homage by doing something completely different. So this is how he explains that original pitch that he and Matthew Vaughn had was going to be different. He says, I want to start out on Krypton 1,000 years ago and end with Superman alone on planet Earth as the last being left on the planet, as the yellow sun turns red and starts to supernova and he loses his powers. So right off the bat, he's basically talking about showing the entire life of Superman, the real entire life of Superman, because remember, he doesn't really age the same way humans do because of his powers, so he will live to see the entire Earth die unless somebody else kills him like Doomsday. But let me know what you guys think about that original pitch. It's pretty crazy, and very clearly, the new films will have a more hopeful tone. They've already said that Justice League is going to be much more hopeful than Batman v Superman. That was sort of the low point in the narrative, so it was always intended to be kind of a bummer. So Justice League was going to be a lot more fun. I think the Man of Steel sequel, if it's not Man of Tomorrow, they'll do something like Man of Steel Rebirth or Superman Rebirth. I feel like that would actually be a great title, just Superman Rebirth. But let me know, what do you want them to do? And remember, it's probably going to be a couple years before we actually get to see another Superman movie. It'll be sometime in the next 2 to 3 years if they hire a director in the next year. It'll take them at least a year to get a script out, so I think they want to have it drop before the second Justice League movie, or maybe after, depending on how quickly they can get things going. But new Flash coming tomorrow. I'll be posting Iron Fist. Be sure to subscribe to get that. There's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway that's going on right now, so everything's going to be great. I'm so excited about the idea of a Matthew Vaughn Superman movie. Just remember that crazy Mark Millar Superman pitch is not what the movie's going to be. That's from almost 10 years ago. But while you guys wait for that next video, you can click here to learn all about Savitar's identity on The Flash, and you can click here for the trailer for the episode. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you in the next video.